Does it matter or not?
No.
Got it. Okay. Hi there, welcome to Taking Stock. Bit of a lag at the start. That was your internet, not mine. I'm Justin, by the way, and of course, this is Taking Stock for 12th. What are we? 12th of July, 2023. It's a Wednesday, midway through the week. And of course, let me just share my screen with you, as I always do. But essentially, what we're looking at is the front page here. Always check out the front page of Vox because I got a lot of content from here. By the way, I just recorded a podcast today with James Vanderberg from Trufin. Fundraise will unlock significant value, says in PlayStack. Now, it's worth looking at that, PlayStack, because I don't know if you know about that. Mortal Shell was their first hit game there, sold 1 million units. And this fundraise secures the franchise of Mortal Shell 2 and Mortal Shell 3. Now, of course, that game sold 1 million units from a standstill with no fan base. And now they have 1 million people waiting for Mortal Shell 2 and 3. As they're saying, it should significantly improve upon that. So worth a listen to that. That's obviously a podcast. Also worth a view is Argentex CEO Harry Adams with Paul Hill. Very fast-growing company, Argentex, and it's very interesting to listen to. Some content here, Asia World. But what I'll be looking at today is this here: most followed, most read, winners and losers. Okay, that's essentially what we're looking at. So let's get into that. And first of all, looking at the most followed company on here. Now, I didn't do this in any way. I didn't manipulate this in any way, but it is a company I have some wholesome stock into. That's Destiny's Pharma, is the most followed company today. Why do I hold stock? I just think at the moment we're in a bear market. And there are opportunities in the bear market you will not get in the bull market. This company, for example, was valued at £1.80 a share 18 months ago. It's now, what, 28 pence a share, 27 pence a share? Let me have a look at that. 20, yeah. So this, let me share the screen with you here. Look at that. So, by the way, this rise here from 30 pence, 60 pence was anticipation of a deal on their first asset. That was done. They did a fundraise here, so they got cash now, so it's come back down. But yet, it's more advanced. Like I said, it was 180 a share back in April 2021. They've got two base assets, Destiny Pharma, and one is, they're both phase 2 going into phase 3. One is already partnered, and one is going to be partnered. And the second asset they're going to be partnering with right now, they come up with in talks with, that's got a market potential of $2 billion. It's twice as big as the last asset they did a deal on, and so they're confident they'll get a partnership agreement on that, which is XF73, it's called, before the end of 2023. Also, most followed list. Now, it's worth, I don't hold any of these either stock in Totally or Ondo InsurTech. Been very hot stock of late, but I just want to do a valuation comparisons, some of the parts kind of thing. Totally PLC is a market cap of 22 million, okay? EV of 20, because they've got a little bit of debt, but more cash, 6.4 of cash. Operating profit of 2 million. And the price of sales valuation is that it's 0.17. So do 135 million in revenue. Now, of course, they're looking to improve the margins, and that is going to happen going forward, according to a broker forecast. So you can see at the moment, the EV EBITDA is about, I think, 3, something like that. And it's odd because it's all about momentum. Share prices are all about momentum, of course. And when you have a stock that's really gaining some traction and some interest, you can throw valuations out the window sometimes. And at the moment, Totally's momentum is going the wrong way. But therein lies the bargain. Now, going the other way, momentum-wise, is Ondo InsurTech. Obviously, one of the most, it was the most followed yesterday, and I think top 3 today, pretty much. But market cap is 17 million, but they've got an EV of 23, so the EV is now bigger than Totally. Revenue, well, the cash 1.8 million, debts are 6.4. Price of sales at 7, pretty much. I'm guessing on that because they had 1 million in revenue in H1. Yes, they've signed a lot of contracts. It's very good tech. I like the company, but I'm a little bit worried about the cash level they have. They have restructured their convertible loan note, but which will help them further on down the line, so they don't have to repay that so quickly if it's not converted. But they had, I think, 1.8 cash This was in August. Now they burned 2 million in H1. Now they've been a lot busier in H2, so I assume they're going to burn a bit more than that in H2. So you're saying around a loss of 4 million maybe for the year, and they had 1.8. So they still need cash to going forward. I'm very interested in this company, but and I wait until their financial results come out because they may be a bit short on cash. But that's just a tale of a momentum there. Two different companies, and you could say totally, totally undervalued at the moment when it's got an EV of 20 and literally cash 6.4. It's profitable, pays a dividend as well. And in fact, let's look at the charts of these. You can see the momentum on this. So that's Destiny Pharma. Again, momentum. That's why it's not rising at the moment. You get net sellers. But let's look at TLY chart. Like I said, it was at 47 pence a share. It's now at 11. Now, I never say catch a falling knife. When does momentum come back in? We could argue. I always tend to put an alerts on the 50-day moving average, 20 and 50-day. 20 is in the green, 50 days in the blue, to signify maybe a start of the end of a downtrend. But really, the granddaddy of moving averages is a 200-day moving average. So I tend to put alerts on that as well. And if you go back to when the big trend happened here, and in fact, let's liken this, to the last downtrend totally had back in 2019. As you can see here, let's zoom in a bit. It did sort of break the 50-day moving average a couple of times, so maybe a fake break. So you would have been alerted then, but I'd say never to get in. Quick trick here is if it breaks the 50-day moving average and gets higher than the previous high, it's a good sign. It didn't there, okay? Now, right here, it broke the 50-day moving average. Did it get higher than the previous high? Yes, it sort of did, okay? And it broke the 200-day moving average. So you can see it starts to move up very nicely from what? Let's say it broke 200-day moving average at 11 pence, 11.4 pence. And then where did it end up going? It ended up going to 26 pence. It did come back down here, though. And again, though, if we go back to this one, where it broke down over the 200-day moving average again, broke back up. You want to see it breaking previous highs again here. So it did break previous highs at 15 pence. And look at that, good support resistance there. If you draw a line here, you can see support resistance pretty much stayed above that. I don't know, let's expand. Yeah, it sort of stayed above that, a little dip below, and then went all the way up to 44 pence. So currently, what am I looking at? I would wait now until you often see people say, give it 3 days and jump in. I don't say that, because it can still go down a bit. But the further down it goes, the bigger the bargain, the more upside. If it generates that kind of revenue going forward, like they say in the forecast. But so I would wait for a break of 20, 50-day maybe, because these will come down to meet it down here somewhere, and then you can see the trend is changing. Now let's go to Ondo, a different tale of the tape, momentum-wise. Look at that, phenomenal. But you could say, like I said, it is trying to get, it did sort of peak out at 25 pence previously, on the chart, and then came back down, but it is getting above that. But you have to understand, momentum's a driver of this right now. It's not valuation, or maybe it's future valuation, but I would still like to see its final results, because I think they'll need cash, because even though they've landed lots of contracts, and they have, I mean, if we go to Ondo's timeline on Vox, the contracts they've announced have been a lot. New 5-year, new deal, rapid pilot, new contract with premier US insurer. That's what really got the momentum going here on the 7th of June. So they've got a lot of contracts coming in. But when you have, more contracts, more, costs come in as well. It's not just profit, it's costs as well. So the costs rise as well. So I'm assuming in H2, they'll have bigger costs than they did in H1. And they lost to 2 million in H1. And they got 1.8 cash. So be careful if you're getting into Ondo. It's a great company. I really like the tech. I'd just be careful about the short-term funding arrangement. Not longer term, but just short-term. Okay, let's go back to the news here. And let's have a look at the most read RNS is Boyle. It's Barron Oil. Let's have a look at the chart of Barron Oil. See if it's reacted today. Let's just share the screen here. Here's Barron Oil, and as you can see, it's a massive peak here and whole pipe potential of something happening from 0.08 to 0.35. It's in the 0.0 decimal points. I can't work out the multiples of that. But again, we see here, it's a distinct downtrend. It's now broke down below 200-day moving average. News out today about an extension, and we'll look at that. But that, I want to see it breaking previous highs, maybe back above 0.11, but it's in a downtrend here. And the news is here that UK license P2478 2-year phase A extension granted. So they noticed today the announcement made by Reabold Resources in relation to the offshore United Kingdom license P2478, in which Barron holds a 32% interest. Reabold Resources is the license administrator. The joint venture said they got an extension. Basically, a drill or drop decision is now required on or before the 14th of July 2025. So that's been extended. And by the way, on this prospect, the competent persons report confirms the Dunrobin West prospect as a large, shallow, simple structure where an exploration well could target an aggregate of 119 million barrels of gross unrisked P-mean prospective resources. This includes the estimated 71 million barrels gross P-mean prospective resource at the geological probability of success of 34% for the primary Jurassic target. Now, people say, is investing gambling? Yes, it is. Life's gambling. It's all about probability. Everything's about probability. Now, if you want to, there's a higher probability you earn 5-10% of big, sensible stocks with good visibility over the revenues, and then you will earning, say, 100%, 300%, 500% of, tiny, small stocks, because they are very unpredictable. They've got maybe no revenue, and they're just basically higher risk, high reward. Now, if you look at this, the probability of success, they say here, is 34%, which is around about a third. So, flipping that the other way around, you're saying pretty much 2/3 chance it won't be successful. That's fine. I mean, if it is successful, you can expect a major re-rate in the share price. But knowing that, that's how you should expose yourself in your portfolio, saying, okay, am I prepared to risk, a decent chunk of my portfolio on, a success that's below odds, but, it's against odds. If it was odds on, it'd be about 50%. So it literally, there's a 64% chance, 60% chance of it not coming in. But again, like I said, there is room in portfolio for high risk stocks like that, but they shouldn't be taking up the majority of your portfolio, because essentially the odds suggest you'll lose money. If that's your only stock, the chances are it's odds against it will be successful. Okay, winners today. Let's look at Deltic Energy, another oil and gas stock here. It's up a little. Well, in fact, how much is it up today? 29%. That's a nice rise there on that. And you can see the share price there. I'll zoom out. You can watch that, or I'll read what's happening. So they've on the Pensacola resource estimate, a significant increase, it's announces a significant increase in its estimate of oil and gas resources for the Pensacola discovery on license P2252. They got a working interest there, 30%. This increase is based on Deltic's post-well analysis. This is nearly double the initial expectations. So following post-well analysis, they now estimate the structure to contain a gross P50 initially in place volumes of gas and oil of 342 million barrels of oil equivalent. This analysis indicates Pensacola may contain almost double the volume of recoverable gas and oil than originally thought, with Deltic now estimating total gross P50 estimated ultimate recovery of 99 million barrels of oil, up from 50 million barrels of oil immediately after well completion. And they did say also significantly, Deltic now estimates Pensacola contains material volumes of oil representing about 30% of the combined recoverable hydrocarbons. Work is progressing with partners to develop the appraisal and development programs for Pensacola, with an appraisal well continued to be targeted for late 2024. So they're hoping to get a partnership in on that for 2024. They're pursuing monetization options for discovery in line with its strategy. What does that mean? Well, you have to work that out. Deltic is pursuing monetization options for the discovery in line with strategy. Okay, we have to know its strategy first, I suppose. Losers. Okay. Now, this is not a pleasant one. Let's put this in. Ticker here is Bank. Fiinu is the company. And as you can see there, it's not been a happy story since IPO. Friday, 8th of July, pretty much, 2022. What's the end of the sort of bull market, pretty much. But it's listed at 18 pence, and now it's down at 2 pence, pretty much. And we've had a gap down today, around about, 67% down. Why? Essentially, it's not going well at all. So they wanted to be, I'll stop sharing here, but they wanted to be essentially a plug-in overdraft. That's what they say. So to explain, a fintech group founded in 2017, a plug-in overdraft, which is an unbundled overdraft solution that allows customers to have an overdraft without changing their existing bank. So essentially, they can use the Fiinu app, which would work, I assume, with their current bank. You wouldn't have to change your bank, but you can still get an overdraft via Fiinu, not via bank, which, of course, this day and age, you can't do that at the moment, I don't think. I don't think you can overdraft with a new one. So it's quite a groundbreaking idea. If the bank refuses you an overdraft, then Fiinu could supply that overdraft, but you wouldn't have to change banks. So, it's a good idea. But there's been basically funding issues affected operations, and the previous funding agreement has fallen through. It's now withdrawn its restricted banking license. They applied for that. They pulled it. The company will continue to review all its options in respect of its business, including trying to source the additional funding required for its to reapply to regulators. Essentially, it's looking not very good, and you find this in bear markets. And you'll find, ironically, a lot of companies come to the market at the top of the market when money was cheap, money was easy to get by, raising money was very easy. Now the market has changed completely. And it's the other way around. And so these kind of companies that needed, cash for a long time to get profitable are no longer get it. Warren Buffett says, when the water goes out, tide goes out, you see the people with their trunks down. And essentially, companies that need, a loss-making pre-revenue and need funding, when it comes to a bear market, they're left wanting, essentially. So I don't hold hope out for Fiinu. They have about, I think, 4.2 million, but they're winding down operations. And I don't know what they're going to do there. So it's looking, a bit worrying for Fiinu. And like I said, that's, you can check out the chart there. And that's the thing as well, you often see these, concepts that are very good, but never go, headlong into it until you're sure, things have happened. And funding is a major, lifeline to any new upcoming startup business. If they can't get funding, that's it. And bigger companies than Fiinu have gone through with great ideas, a bigger sort of audience, bigger market potential than Fiinu. So it's a little bit worrying there that not may play out. As far as macro is concerned, and some of the big stories there, UK banks can withstand fresh crisis. They're beginning stress tests. I wonder how it's done, financially stress tests. But I think if anyone's ever had a kid or a couple of kids, young kids, that stress, just throw those into the bank. Learn as young kids demanding stuff. That's a stress test. But anyway, they said the 8th largest lenders could survive worst case scenario, the plunging house prices and deep recession. How much? So what they've done, they've included a stress test where house prices have fallen by 31%, and unemployment rate increasing to 8.5%, and inflation going to 17%. And they say most of the banks are fine. But it's very interesting. Say individuals may not be fine. They say some people may suffer and not be able to repay their mortgages or loans, which may put some stress on banks, of course, and that's why they do this. But by the end of 2026, around 1 million households with a fixed rate mortgage will see their monthly repayments go up by £500 or more, it said. More than 2 million households will pay between £200 and £499 more, with the average payment rising by about £220. It's a good news story. Renault Geely I don't know how you say that, engine firm to have headquarters in the UK. A new global company being launched by French motor giant Renault and Chinese car maker Geely is set up its headquarters in the UK. The firm will invest up to €7 billion to develop low-emission petrol, diesel and hybrid engines. It will employ 19,000 workers at its 17 engine factories, as well as 5 research and development hubs. Not all those will be in the UK, I assume. The firm will be launched later the year, supplying engines to Volvo, Nissan and Mitsubishi. The firm also said Saudi energy giant Aramco may join the venture as evaluating strategic investment. Aramco, by the way, is the largest oil and gas play or company in the world, a major emitter of greenhouse gases. But earlier this year, Aramco's president and chief executive Amin Nasser said the company would increase its investments in lower carbon technologies. So good news story there. And here's a bad news story for Rishi Sunak to finish off on. They're saying rising UK interest rates threaten Sunak's fiscal plans. Now, basically, Sunak had 3 priorities. Halving inflation, that's not going to happen. I don't know if it will. Growing the economy, that's not really happening. And getting the debt ceiling falling, that's not happening. So he may actually miss on 3 of his plans, he stated, Rishi Sunak. I don't think it matters anyway. I don't think he's win the next general election, is he? But the OBR, which is Office for Budget Responsibility, said, this rising interest rate will threaten all that, essentially. Because, of course, it'll cut down on growth. I mean, the government have to pay more debt in interest rate payments. And inflation looks a bit sticky. So who knows? Just one chart, a bit biased. I'm going to put this up here. Future. I've been covering this for a while. Like I said, Future is, one of those. I'll just share this with you. Future is one of those companies, a star of the stock market. You can see went from literally down here, literally 30 pence a share to 40 quid a share by 2021. Did a double top there. Look, a lower high pretty much, and then it came down all the way down. New CEO took the board, chucked 900 grand pretty much in shares at 888 in, and I was thinking, when is this going to change? It's a great business. It has brands, including Marie Claire. I think it owns one of the Go Compare. It owns that, but it's got about 250 websites, and they all monetize pretty much. Great margins. But like I said, it's been hit by the slowdown in the global economy due to people pulling advertising spend and all that. But it's been overly hit, I believe, and that's what you get in a bear market. And I thought, when's this going to stop? I thought, will it stop here at like 10 quid a share? It didn't. As you can see here, worth looking at this and the difference between this and now. As you can see, it's sort of bottom here at 10.53. They tried to break back out, didn't manage to get above 11.60 pretty much, and never did. It never did that. 11.60. Then all of a sudden it broke down below here. And I released some news here, and a massive gap down. So there's a trend there is broken, but you could have said it broke down 10.50 below that. That was a breakdown in that chart. Now this current setup is a bit different, I believe, because we've got the low in Future here. It broke down again, down to like a 639, big down day, then bounced back above that, tried to get above this. Well, it did get above it here, and it didn't go below then 685 pretty much. Even it dipped back down and one day went back up, but now it's broken above previous highs. These previous highs in that range and these previous highs, it's broken above the last 3 days. Now it's going towards the 50-day moving average, which is also a good sign. And like I said, if you can get above that and break previous highs, then it's looking good. So has the downtrend in Future ended? Who knows? In fact, it looks a good thing. But in fact, that's me on the thing there. Let's look at the stock exchange. Just visit the sort of indices. It's looking quite good today. Green on the screen. FTSE 100. 1.17% up, 250 0.8% pretty much. It's all up. 350 is up again, pretty much same as FTSE 100. AIM all share half of 1%. It's not bad. The lows there were, I think, 739. So we are off the lows slowly. Is this the bottom of the bear market? Who knows? That's the million-dollar question. Don't forget to like, hit subscribe on the YouTube video below. And of course, you get notified when we go live. We're going to try and keep it as regular as possible, but sometimes things get in the way, and we end up going 5-10 minutes past. So rather than sit there waiting for, as if anyone was doing that, but hit that subscribe button on YouTube and you get notified. I'm going to sneeze, but hopefully John Human is back with me tomorrow. Until then, have a good day.